Hello. Yeah. Sorry about the little bit of delay here, but we're all here. I'm excited to kick off this discussion, and I really want this to be just a free-flowing, interaction of ideas, learnings, and so forth. The topic, of course, what we're talking about here is really, to shed some light on e-commerce, strategies, right? There is obviously, depending on the brand that, the people are representing, I'm sure it's going to be a very, varied list of things that people have tried out. Some things may have worked in their favor, some things may have not worked. And, in fact, I've been telling the panel, please share your learnings as well. It doesn't matter whether you've been successful or not, and that's, I think, what would be really valuable to you as an audience, right? E-commerce, as we've all heard this morning, is rapidly growing, evolving, and I think it's, that trajectory is going to continue to happen, for the next, decade or so, given all the data points that we are seeing about the Indian economy, at a macro level and so forth, right? But specifically from an e-commerce standpoint, there have been a lot of new emerging trends. This aspect of, data playing a huge role. How can it lead to, hyper-personalization? The rise of ONDC, of course, it's still in its nascency, but I think ONDC is going to play a big role in the e-commerce landscape. The role of emerging technologies such as, generative AI and blockchain, Web3, and so on and so forth, right? I think it's a big laundry list of things that are sweeping the world of e-commerce. So I'm really here to, eager to hear from the panelists who are all industry practitioners. They represent some fantastic brands. So let's get started on that journey, yeah? So I'll kind of throw open a question. Please feel free to jump in. Maybe I'll start with you, Ashmeer. You represent, DaMENSCH. What do you think are some of the top, marketing trends, from an e-commerce perspective that you are seeing? Let's just start with that, and then, we'll pick up the thread from there. Yeah.
Thank you, Sridhar. Very good morning to you. In fact, good afternoon to each one of you. It's a very interesting topic that all of us here are discussing. Primarily, when we say the marketing strategies, I represent a brand called DaMENSCH, which is predominantly men's innerwear and athleisure. Started as a D2C brand, and I had the offline business for them. Inherently, what happens in India, especially from a D2C space, when you start as a D2C only brand, it's about how do you kind of reach a level that you have envisaged for. But then there is a upper cap we talk about. And India is a huge geographical market. For us, from a e-commerce strategy, looking at each and every aspect of our presence across the pin codes, we were, kind of challenging the existing brands already in that space. So it was more about, reaching the targeted consumer. How do you reach out to them? You have all the social marketing sites. You're looking at also aspects as the TG, which is differentiates from the existing ones who are there. It was very difficult to, kind of already, established brands, players who are in the market. And innerwear is a very personal space for all of them. So it was more about, getting to that target segment, reaching out with those target advertisements, also from existing players in the market who are there, the way they have panned out, differentiated not only at the product level in terms of the physical product, but also in terms of the niche markets which are there. So I'm just kind of giving a broad overview. That's how it has been for us. Offline per se, we've just started a year back. And there are a lot of synergies in the online and offline space, which we'll eventually cover in the later part of the discussion. Thanks.
Great, great. So Ritu, I'll just pick up on what Ashmeer just said. You represent Soch Apparel, which is a well-known brand, at least here in Bangalore. I'm very familiar with it. And, social media, I think, has played a big role. And I think the influence of social media-driven e-commerce, I think it's increasing. What is your perspective on it? Is this something that you have benefited from? What are your thoughts on that?
Hello. Yeah. Thanks for the question. So basically, for us today, social media, we are, as Soch as a brand, we are both offline and online. It's been a very established brand, as you mentioned, and the good part for Soch is we have a very strong customer base who is loyal to us. That being said, as a fashion brand, the fashion is always evolving. So while there are the classics and Soch deals with ethnic wear, which is more of saris and everything, there is also an evolving trend. And social media is the key channel through which we can actually bring about the seasonal awareness, the aspiration to connect with our customers, whether it is in terms of the collection which we are, publishing, or with regard to the story we want to tell. Social media is the key channel, right? We have our stored advertisements and everything, but even the offline customers use social media to build that awareness or build that aspiration. So when we speak about social media, again, there are various segments to it. One, of course, is the organic bit of it, which we do through our handles and promoting the posts and everything as a brand building activity, what we do. And the second is, of course, the performance marketing part of it. Again, on both the mediums of social media, there is focused effort in trying to, in one side, to build more followers, drive more engagement, keep the customers active and aware, because, it's not just a singular channel where we are publishing and they are consuming. They should also be responding. So it also plays a very active feedback channel for us, In addition to that, also social media helps us to build a lot of niche personas which are trending these days. If we see that, we are the a lot of customers have very specific requirements or very specific personas. There's a lot of more acceptance towards, ideas and thoughts which may otherwise have seemed radical. So the whole social media helps to build those different, there are those influencers who are very persona specific, and through social media, when they promote our product, they reach out to the relevant TG. So influencer marketing on social media is a very active emerging trend. Then of course AI plays a ever increasing role in the performance marketing part of it. So for us, yes, to answer your question, social media is the key communication channel for us.
Okay, great. Thanks, Ritu, for that. So I'll switch gears and come to the right-hand side. Both of you, Vaibhav and Mehul, you represent, the health, beauty brands, if I may put you kind of in the same category. I don't know whether you agree with that or not. And, you're relatively, young brands. So the question that I've always, find very intriguing is, how do you guys, really establish yourself as a brand? Because I'm assuming that, access to a lot of funding is probably a little scarce. You got to spend your money very wisely. So how do you not go berserk on marketing spends, but still able to, you're able to create a brand, you're able to create a niche for yourself? And, I would like to hear, perspectives from both of you.
Yeah, no, great question. I'm going to do my bit. Good afternoon, everyone. Everyone is saying good afternoon, so good afternoon. I'm from Bare Necessities, like you rightly said. And to answer your question, I think what we do, as one thing that we had the advantage of doing in the early on days is we're in a space where we're talking about sustainability a lot, zero waste a lot, packaging a lot, but also the high quality ingredients, right? So at one point when we were talking about this and zero waste wasn't an Instagram phenomenon like it is today, we had to do workshops. Okay. And when we were doing workshops, a lot of the times that was our indirect marketing, which was then leading people to organically follow us on social media. And today we have a pretty vibrant social media following because of that. So when cost of customer acquisition is rising, like you said, we cannot spend our money on anything and everything. We started focusing on those organic followers that started joining our journey in terms of retention marketing. So we started looking at those WhatsApps. We started looking at like rewards and giving them back and keeping them engaged as much as possible, but not cliche advertising to them, but genuinely just saying, hey, you might need this, you might not need this, this is what's going on in the world, making ourselves very relatable on social media, but also when you get a WhatsApp message from us, it's not yelling, buy our product. It's something more indirect than that.
Okay, that makes sense. Vaibhav?
Hi everyone, I'm Vaibhav. Good afternoon. I see that our tummies are still not full. But yeah, so I represent a brand called Kapiva. How we have approached brand building is slightly different in terms of how FMCG companies used to approach brand building in the times of linear TV, where you would buy a media for like the next 6 months or buy an impact property or something like that, and you would go all out with that. Like the brief to creative would take 6 months. What we have done differently or how we have approached this differently is we have utilized key opinion leaders, which are nothing but your influencers, and we have leveraged both short form and long form content to put the message out there. Case in point being, as I was just telling my fellow panelists, that we are the largest sellers of Shilajit in India online. Now, when you hear the word Shilajit, right, all of your mind might have gone to, okay, something related to that Dabur ka red packaging. So what we have done is, by leveraging influencers, by using key opinion leaders and running collab ads with them, making sure that we are out there with the right messaging, that Shilajit is not something that has been marketed to you for the last 40, 50 years, but it is something which is literally called the destroyer of weaknesses. And this is how it can help you with stamina, it can help you with muscle recovery, and stuff like that. So we have positioned Shilajit as a natural supplement using influencers. And the beauty about that is that if you were doing, let's say, a big media buy and with a big celeb, you would have to get it right the first time around. But when you're doing key opinion leaders, you can afford to go slightly there, slightly here, while maintaining your core imagery, messaging, whatever. But you can afford to do media buys worth, let's say, 1 crore and not, let's say, 50 crore or in that tune. So I think that is something that has helped us, and the cost per view and the recall that we are able to generate through these activations has surpassed anything. Like one of our videos that we were doing, that we were running a collab ad on, that was literally viewed by 95 million people. Imagine doing that through organic means or through any other means possible. And we have spent around 25 lakh on it. So in that regard, brand building, I think, will change going forward. People will go, like brands and people alike will go after distributors of whosoever owns the distribution. Currently, influencers own the distribution. That's where I think brands are going.
Great. That's a very interesting perspective.
Yeah.
So that leads me to my next sort of question that's been, on my mind for quite some time, which is, what is the future of, loyalty programs? I mean, first of all, do they even have a place in your strategy, so to speak? And I'm just throwing this open to anybody. Because I think all of you are saying that it's important to understand your target audience, understand what they want, and then, cater to their needs. And I think you're all taking different strategies to almost, solve the same problem more or less, but in different, ways, which is great. But at the end of the day, do you feel that a loyalty program even has a role? And if yes, how are you going about doing it? Because you want these people also to keep coming back to you, right? Now, whether you call them loyal or whether you have a formal program or not, at the end of the day, you want them to come back for repeat purchases and, things like that. So how are you achieving that today? I mean, anybody, if you want, Ashmeer, you can go.
So I'll take that one. It's a heady mix of both online and offline for us. What is customer loyalty? It is about, a line or a communication you're saying about a brand or a product, saying that I'll consistently deliver this to you at a certain price, obviously. And when you are able to do it, it could be channel agnostic. Today's consumer, buys everywhere. Maybe 2.5 years back, everybody was online, and you see a flurry of D2C brands who have come in. Prior to that, you had everybody offline. Interesting example, why do you go to the same barber for a haircut? I mean, just giving a very odd example. It's all about saying that that gentleman knows, how to, or, in a parlor, who goes. So it's about, customer loyalty is all about saying that, okay, if I go to this brand, if I purchase, this is where it is. Trust me, the loyal customers who are there, and if we call them that, they are the ones who are the best word of mouth publicity for you. We have actually, gained a lot of, as a brand. We started with, I would not name, but there are a lot of them who meet me and they say, I am wearing your brand. That's what customer loyalty is all about, when they kind of put you against the brand and saying that, or you link you with a brand. Obviously, yes, why wouldn't a customer not like a brand knowing them? So, there are a lot of people who kind of collate information, birthdays and marriage anniversaries, and this has been the traditional way of doing it. But there is also a way, like, with all those cookies where you are, kind of going through across channels and all that, and there's a lot of information being already picked up. And if, all of us use, their food delivery apps, and suddenly you get a prompt these days at 12:30 or something saying that, hey, there's time for lunch. That's all about what it is. So yes, customer loyalty is there, but you need to kind of reiterate the same, a tagline or a service or a product, which says that, I am consistent in providing this. There are organizations built around customer loyalty. There are quite a few of them who have, expanded, they become unicorns and the next levels. So yes, customer loyalty is here to stay. It's more about, holding, and from a digital parlance, if I can say it, it's the lifetime value of the consumer. So it's so difficult, all the fellow panelists would agree, and in fact, the team across sitting here, we always talk about CAC, and acquisition is so high. It's once you have that person, that consumer in your fold, he or she, how do you kind of, keep them interested over a long time, And it's not about that, a brand I worked for prior to DaMENSCH. It's actually about, catching the customers who are much more younger, the brand recall. Maybe you're not even generating money out of that product or that particular TG, but that, that person he or she is wearing that product and, take it through them. And there has been a lifestyle change in both the men and women. They have to, eventually go back to the product. And if you're able to segment it accordingly, the TG as we're talking about, I guess customer loyalty is here to stay. Everybody loves to, I remember, learning some case studies where some car brands, Japanese car brands, they even knew which side of the table do you like your lemonade to be served, to that level.
Okay.
So if that is what, you get as a consumer, why would you, want to switch brands? So yes, customer loyalty, I guess it's very, very important if you're building a brand. And end result for any business is the business volume that you're looking at. And these are the loyal customers who are going to be there with you. You see a lot of large format retailers, who kind of have a pre-sale for them because around 80% of the business is generated by them. Yeah. And that's where it is. So that's my take on customer loyalty.
If I could just add to that, just one brief thing. It's, we always talk about customer loyalty. So customers have to be loyal to our brand, but what about the brands being loyal to the customers, right? So I think that's something that we get carried away as brands as well, thinking that, they'll come back to us, it's okay. But at the same time, how you communicate that loyalty through your product, through your service, through being accountable, holding yourself accountable to your customers, for instance, I think that also speaks into building a good loyalty program, because your product might be great, but to get that product, if that service wasn't there, then no one's going to come to talk to you again, because they're not want to go through the hassle of getting that product from you again. So I think it works both ways to build a successful loyalty program, and I just want to add to that, and everything I agree with.
I think that's a great point, Mehul. Anything you want to add, Vaibhav or Ritu, on this particular point?
At Kapiva, I think how we look at customer loyalty is not based on what programs have we made for them, what discounts are we offering them, because more often than not, basis any cohort analysis that any one of us done, we would understand the customers with the highest discounts are the lowest LTV people, right? Mm-hmm. So it's the loyalists won't want discounts, right? The loyalists, in our case at least, it's about delivering measurable health outcomes to customers. If we are able to deliver that, and that doesn't just happen on the back of a magical product, but that also happens on the adherence that you build with the customer, because it's a health product, right? You will not take that daily unless your doctor tells you to. So to build that, we have to build systems which drive adherence, and because of it, we drive customer retention. Because we are able to drive health outcomes for those customers, they turn into our loyalists. That is how we approach this problem. Okay. We do not approach this via points or referrals or discounts. We've tried that, but it seems as if it doesn't work in India as of now. Might be with the next generation of e-commerce purchasers coming in, that this might become a very big thing, where if I introduce my group to something, I am the cool one in that group. Yep. But that's not the case with the millennials or the boomers that we are catering to right now.
Okay. Anything you want to add, Ritu?
So I think just to add on this, there's a very trending video these days to touch on what he just mentioned on what is the ownership as a brand you are taking towards the customer. So the North Face video, which is coming for the jacket that they try to deliver to the person who's complaining. I think that's very, very important that customer loyalty is built not just by the product, of course it has to be a great product, but also the service that you deliver. And hence, in the e-com space at least, we have this very active engagement with our customer support teams where we keep, trying to segregate what are the key pain points and then see on what we can do, what infra we need to build or what changes we need to do in our processes to address that. Because if I have a painful experience, like I've had a painful experience with some of the leading brands on their D2C platforms, I would end up going to a marketplace and purchasing it. I would not go to that D2C brand even if I love their product. Because I don't want to take the hassle of, the returns or refunds. So in the e-com space, the customer experience, not just about selling, but the post-sales experience needs to be good if we want to drive, repeat purchases, which is our key thing.
Okay, great. So, I think we are down at the 10-minute mark. So I'm just going to switch gears to another topic, which is a hot button topic, which is, generative AI. I think I've mentioned it about 50 times since morning. And again, I belong to the technology side of the ecosystem, and naturally, we're all very excited about the possibilities. But I think everybody agrees that it is still very nascent. I think we are still in the very, very early stages of, how this technology, the hype seems to be real, right? There is definitely a lot of investments going in, and all kinds of, data points indicate that this is something that is going to become real, or maybe it is already real in some sense. And I feel that, from an e-commerce or a retail standpoint, content creation seems like it is a natural fit for generative AI. And the other part is about hyper-personalization, right? Again, we've heard hyper-personalization, being thrown around quite a bit. I just want, your take on, how are you using generative AI? What are the concerns? What is preventing you from adopting, if any? Just some general thoughts on that would be, nice to, hear.
So I'll take up the tactical part of it,
Okay.
Not very strategical, in the sense that we use generative AI from anywhere between crafting, like the first starting point for our attention journeys, how do we communicate a message, what tone of message we are looking at, crafting briefs for influencers, generating, churning out content at this level where the production quality has to be 100, everything has to tick the boxes. Generating briefs from AI leads to significantly less amount of time being spent on the most cumbersome, not the cumbersome, but the most exhaustive task. That is where we use. Second thing where we have used is actually generating content as well. So we have used a bunch of tools to figure out that if we record, let's say we have a person who says everything who reads the dialogues in our videos, right? So what we have done is we have AI their voice, and then we throw anything at that thing. It relays in the same video of the person while she is speaking that, but she is not there in reality. And they have all the gestures and everything, the eye gestures, the mouth gestures, the hand gestures, everything. So in that way, that is, again, not very high level, but we have been able to use AI where we feel that, okay, we have to churn out content faster without compromising on the quality. And that's where we have been able to use generative AI as such. AI in general, we have been using, as I mentioned, that Facebook, Meta, Google, everyone is going towards using AI to figure out who's the next set of customers for your brands. So it's not anymore that we have to segment audiences, we have to do laser targeting, we have to do this, that, whatever. Just create the creative for the TG that you're looking for, put that on Facebook, let Facebook figure out who to show it to, because they tend to have access to a lot more videos than you do. So they are able to figure out basis what you're speaking, what location you're targeting, what TG you're going after, just based on the content that you're putting on that video. So that is where we are leveraging AI as such to figure out, let Meta figure out who's the next set of customers rather than figuring it out ourselves.
Great.
So that is where we are using that.
Some great use cases there, Vaibhav. Thanks for sharing. Yeah. Mehul?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with everything you just said, actually. So that's what we end up using it for. So a lot of content strategy. We actually, when you really think about it, it does save you a lot of time because you're able to get maybe a month-long strategy for your social media, for instance, or even ad campaigns or even ad videos, and how do you kind of do that? But at some point, I try to get involved, or my team does get involved, where it's trying to make it as brand-oriented, right? Sometimes with AI, it does lose its voice that you are building your brand on. So I think that's very important to know that you cannot blindly follow it, but use it as a structure. And in terms of AI, I agree, like we're with Advantage Plus on Meta and then PMax on Google Ads, using keyword planners and things like that. Those kind of things are definitely just going to get you so much organic results itself, where you're not even spending money to bring that traffic to your website. But then you have to use AI in a way to also make sure your website is completely optimized. Yeah. So recently, Bare Necessities was in a Google Startup Accelerator program, and in that was just all tech companies talking about AI, and then there was one D2C brand like us, right? And we tried to take as much as we could from this topic, but a lot of it came down to, is your website optimized? Because when people come in, D2C brands usually have lots of images, lots of videos, lots of content, lots of stories. So how do we optimize our website to make sure it's completely running well, speed is good, navigation is good, SEO is good, and that also can be done, helped through AI as well. And then image taking, yeah. Content creation, but like image taking for your websites can be easily done through text to image things, and you don't have to do anything actually. So yeah, that's how we've been using it.
Anything from you guys? Yeah.
In fact, this topic, I guess everybody would have a lot to say because at some point of time, somebody has, utilized AI. For us, at DaMENSCH, what really happened, because it's a D2C brand, we started with creating images, having content, which is really differentiates us from the existing, because all the other brands which were there in India, they were still, offline led, who had moved into online space. For us being D2C, it's all about the content. At a point of time, we had in-house, shoots and everything happening. What happens with AI is like, and as Mehul rightly mentioned, you just give them the prompts, it kind of crawls over your website. It finds out what all, it speaks or it listens to what is happening about the brand across the social media, and then it targets. So I'll talk about two points in this one. One is, I guess, the content creation becomes much more easier. I won't take it away from the creative guys, lest they get offended. But what happens is once you have created a content which is of high quality, this kinds of optimizes it, saying that, okay, fine, and you utilize the same thing which you have done. The second thing is getting efficiencies. When as you mentioned about Facebook and Meta specifically, it's about, they have got so much amount of data over there. You put your prompt saying that, okay, for us, brand is innerwear or athleisure. It kind of hunts which are the other consumers who are there. So it's like, for the rupees spent, you get a better, as he mentioned, the ROIs are much, much, much better than this. So these are the two sets for us what has worked.
Thanks. Ritu, you should have the last word on this.
Thanks. So actually generative AI, like we said, we use it a lot for content creation. When we speak about content, again, it is for a lot of text content, whether it is in the form of product descriptions, because we're a fashion brand, so we have like thousands of products, for blogs, for social media, the captions and everything. Also the images, when we speak about that, of course, for us as a fashion brand, we have our product images, but just tomorrow I have a meeting set up with a company which is going to help me to replace backgrounds to images. So, that whole expense of doing multiple shoots and all those things, that can be controlled, and, nowadays there's a lot that can be done with creative, because as a fashion brand, you need to keep showing fresh content, and it's expensive to do shoots. So, of course, the cost efficiency, the time operational efficiencies, and lastly, I think where AI is really picking up is also, where we can use ChatGPT and everything to help us also draw insights from our data. Okay. So, if you can post your, like our MISs and all have these huge and tons of data we have of, sales data and impressions and everything, which is not possible for humanly to go through everything. But using these AI tools, drawing those insights can at least be indicative. Today, Gen AI or any form of AI is not something which you can go by if left alone, but it is a great assistant to have,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I think we are kind of running out of time. So I just want to summarize it, and maybe we can, if we have a little bit of time, maybe we can take one or two questions from the audience. Does anybody have a question? One question, just one question. Yes, please. Okay. Okay, there's one in the front there. Yeah. Yes, and he's sitting in the front. So.
The question already asked. I'm Manikandan calling from Tirupur, Tamil Nadu.
Okay.
And I'm getting into D2C. My concern is same. We have already marketplace like Flipkart and Amazon. When we go for a direct D2C, where there is a possibility of having same number of orders to our own D2C, or it will not happen? How do you think?
So when you think about yourself, when you're buying from a new brand, would you go to the e-commerce marketplace or would you go with a new brand? So as Mehul had mentioned in his talk, you have to focus on the service aspect of it. See, you will not be able to give 1-day delivery or 2-day delivery or the return experience that an Amazon gives you. But if you're able to communicate the value that you're building for the user basis the services that you're giving in any of the use cases that all of us are here for, you would be able to convince them to buy it from you rather than the marketplace. And it doesn't have to be price. Marketplaces will almost always beat you on price as well for your own product. If you have an Alpha RK or something of that sort, even if you don't have that, people will almost always prefer to buy from marketplaces. The only reason they'll come to D2C is when they see that, okay, I'm getting some sort of value. And that's why the D2C ecosystem is moving towards products plus services. It is no longer pick a product, slap your brand name on it, and just sell it. There has to be a service component, be it post-sale service, be it how do you help the customer use your product better, get better outcomes from it. In any of those scenarios, you'll have to convince the customer. The third place where I feel D2C might win is products which don't have a big pull on marketplaces right now. So if you're building a new category or a new product or a new form factor to an existing category, that is where you will be able to win against marketplaces, because marketplaces पे options उपलब्ध नहीं होंगे, right? So you will be able to win, you will be able to create your brand on D2C, but ultimately marketplaces will open up as your distribution channels only. So that is how, if you are a new D2C brand looking to create a new D2C brand, go D2C first, create that brand, create that recall. It will be expensive at first, but you will have tons of user data to figure out how do you scale to the next 10 crore, 100 crore. So that would be my take on it.
Thanks, Vaibhav. I want to thank all the panelists. It was a fantastic discussion, and I hope all of you found it very insightful as well. I really enjoyed speaking to all of you. Thank you for your time. Thank you.
Thank you so much.